There we are. Hello, hello.
Hi. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Greta. So, for the people watching, today our guest is Greta Kesa, Head of Customer Experience at Mindvalley. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. Very nice to see you again in a Zoom call or a StreamYard call from Malaysia.
Yeah,
Now,
that's true.
so all fine there?
Yeah, well, it's evening already, 7 p.m. So working day almost done. So it's perfect time to close this with the conversation with you.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe to start and to give the people a background, kind of a background. What is somebody who is working for customer experience? What is he or she doing?
Well, the person who is working in customer experience is trying to ensure that customers are facing the product or service or the brand in the most seamless way, right? Because we can market everything, we can put everything in nice and beautiful colors. But when the customer is there, here and now, the question is what kind of experience they have. Do they want to stay? Do they enjoy their process? So, my role is to actually look into the challenges and issues customers are facing while giving us feedback or while writing to us customer support tickets and talk to stakeholders internally to see what we can solve and improve.
Okay, and your team, how big is it?
I have three direct reports, three people under me. It's like customer support person, voice of customer, and quality assurance. And also under customer support person, there are 30 plus, 35 people. So the whole department is 30 plus, but direct reports are three.
Yeah, and they all like you.
Oh, that's a very good question. Like we should ask them. I
Yeah,
hope so. They don't mind me.
yeah, yeah. Because today we will talk about team happiness.
Indeed.
So, and for me, it's like a topic that really, yeah, fits to your energy. Um, Team happiness for you. What is important in team happiness?
Well, for me, it's important that people would feel like they have a safe space to explore their professional field, and they would understand that for me, they're human first and employees second. Because I do believe that the simplest thing is like the happier they feel at their workplace, I do believe the better people, the better employees they are, because we spend so much time at work. And if it's not encouraging, if it's not inspiring, then maybe we're wasting our time. So I want to make sure that me as team leader, I'm doing what's in my control to create that atmosphere for them.
Yeah. So you have human employee, and where is the customer?
Oh, so then I think it translates very directly, because
Okay.
like if I think if people are unhappy, how they can care for customers. Like if nobody cares for them, how can we expect employees to care for customers? I think it's like a ripple effect.
Yeah. And for you yourself, what is for you happiness at work?
Hmm. It's when I wake up excited, and it's also when I like solving challenges. Because I don't think we should talk about just unicorns and rainbows and there are no troubles or problems. There are a lot. Work is hard sometimes. But if I have challenges ahead of me that I'm excited to solve with people that are also excited to solve it, this is where I have the drive, when I see the meaning, when I want to make the change, when I focus on solutions, and where I have that playground to play. I have some ownership, at least a little bit in my field that I'm responsible for. That
Yeah.
would be for me happiness at work.
Yeah. Okay. So autonomy for you is like really important.
It is. It is. I know it's not always possible fully, but at least in some parts.
Yeah. 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 You know that it's typically millennial request or yeah, demand.
Yeah.
Now you directly report to the CEO.
No, I did for a while, maybe for 4 or 5 months. But now we have a chief membership officer, so I directly report to him, to another executive member.
Yeah. Now, as a leader, you told me that during the past months, past years, you changed. You worked in logistics, and then you went to Mindvalley.
Yeah.
Explain a little, like give it just some more details. How did that work? And yeah. So first of all, why did you pick Mindvalley? Maybe.
Oh, I picked Mindvalley as a dream company because I wanted a place where I'm excited to come to work for something bigger than me, for something bigger than my work. And that is Mindvalley's mission, to help people transform, to help people grow. And I was just thinking, like, if I can, I can do a lot of things on my own, but if I can join this tribe, this movement, and be part of something bigger, that's what's inspiring. And this is how I changed my very cool job as in-house corporate trainer to come and be customer support agent and actually start from the very first step of answering customer support emails. And even though that is a big shift, a huge shift, but I didn't care at that time, because for me, it didn't matter what I do. It matters why I do that and what kind of impact it has. And then little did I know that I would stay in this area of customer support and customer experience for 4 years now, because I saw the meaning in this.
Yeah. And you come from logistics, and
Yes.
you told me that you were, like, in the past, really a harsh, bad leader.
Yeah, like just maybe to emphasize that I wasn't a direct leader in logistics. My harsh leader side was mostly expressed in student organizations and beyond. So this was my, like, kind of base. And then when I worked in logistics, which is very, very traditional field and traditional company with traditional rules and authorities, this is where I started a bit by bit transforming as a human being, even though the environment was pretty structured. But as you mentioned, this harsh leader part, yes, my history, if I look at 10, 12 years back, I even had a nickname, which I'm not proud of at all. At that time, it was very funny, but now I understand that it was not funny at all. I had a nickname of dictator.
Okay.
And for people who know me now, might be weird to know it, but this happened because I have always been very bubbly, happy person, and I'm like, I love life. Life is good. But when I got the team to lead, I was told that leaders have to be serious, leaders have to be proper, leaders have to behave and not say any jokes, not talk anything weird and random, not just jump around and celebrate life, because it has to be professional. And just because I was told so, I went into extremes, and I actually didn't care about people at all. And I don't even want to remember these times, but it's part of my history. I was a very bad leader, mistreated people, cared only about numbers, didn't take care of them at all, only myself. And that wasn't good. But I'm very happy that I had people in my environment who said, Greta, not good. Like, wake up, wake up, wake up. So maybe my biggest message is that no matter where we start, no matter who we are at the moment or who we were, I think when we are taking conscious action towards changing ourselves, we can change ourselves and we can create that impact around us. Because being a dictator is not good. Working from only very strong, toxic, masculine energy is no good.
Is that factor number one in team happiness? The boss, the leader?
I think the factor number one is honest care. And you can't fake it. It can be the strategy which HR writes to you. It can be something you just go to the training and you learn. I think you either care about people or not, and people see that. You can have hundreds of team building games, exercises, some official things, how to bond each other, or like drinks with your team. But if you don't bring the element of honestly caring for your people, it's gonna show sooner or later.
Yeah. Is that the type of leader you are now?
I think I am. I feel very vulnerable saying it, right? Because I'm like, what if my team doesn't feel this way? And every time I write something about team happiness, I'm like, do they really feel this way? But a few times I ask them, I'm like, are we on the same page? They're like, yeah. So I do believe I am. And if somebody would ask me what's my proudest thing overall in my professional career, would be that I see my team members growing. I see them being, owning their areas of life, and I see that they enjoy working, even if we have bad days. But I think I'm doing my best.
And would be now your nickname? If you give yourself a new nickname, what is it then? The soft dictator?
No. Well, like again, saying this sounds so bad, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I would say, I would bring my favorite color. I would say yellow or something with sunshine, which brings hope, connects things, or like brings the perspective in those. Sometimes it's hard, it's cloudy, but I'm still there. So maybe something like that.
Yeah. That's also the color you're wearing. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, and then the blue. So um, now, what made you change? Like, how come you just changed? Like from the moment that you saw it until the moment that you do something, that you change something. What made you do it?
Mhm. I think the process has been long. Only in my story I can say, oh, I switched. The process has been long. I think what helped me is that, as I said, I received feedback and I became aware. Because it's very important to bring awareness. And if we are not able to be self-aware or self-conscious, as I was not at that time, we need some people in our environment to call ourselves out. And this is one of the reasons why in some organizations that are not caring for people much, there are so many toxic leaders, because nobody calls that out. Everybody calls it, it's normal. That's okay. It's not. So when I got to know that I'm behaving this way and there are other ways to behave, I was like, so what do I do? And what do I do? I think we go into behaviors from our simple daily actions. So I simply needed to rewrite my habits, what I do every day and where I put my focus on, right? So start seeing and start asking simple questions honestly, like, so how are you doing for my team members? How are you actually feeling? Where can I support you so that we move forward? So these simple things, they didn't change overnight, as I said. It took me a few years. But the more I read, the more I experienced, the more I practiced, I realized that this way, it works much better because nobody's being um, forced. Nobody is behaving based on fear or respect, but they do it because they want to do it, because they want to show up, they want to show initiatives. And then we have this mutual trust and responsibility towards the main result.
Yeah. And how important is communication there?
Everything. Like, I think remove communication from leadership, from team management, from team happiness,
Mhm.
gone. You have nothing, because again, everything is daily interaction. I really believe that team happiness is defined by daily interactions. How do you as a leader show up when your team makes a mistake? When you achieve goals and how you celebrate that? When you don't achieve goals, how do you call it out? When you have to say feedback, which is not very pleasant, how do you do it? Directly, passive aggressively, passively, or in a kind way? So I think it's really, again, it's the behaviors, right? Maybe I'm repeating myself, but I think communication is the key, the absolute key.
Yeah. And ownership.
Ownership is also important. And I guess this is where leaders play in a way so that they give space for their team members to know that they can feel ownership. Because if I'm doing everything for them, if I'm giving only orders, if I'm not delegating, right? If I'm not challenging them, how can I expect them to feel ownership? That's naive, right? But if I give them space to explore and I show that I trust, I think bit by bit, they can build ownership. And since 1 year ago, my main goal for my 3 direct team members was so that in case my position doesn't exist, in case I decide to leave, in case something happens, they can work and they know their field very well on their own and they can own it 100%. That was my goal, so that they feel so good I can be obsolete.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. What about how important is well-being for team happiness?
It is, like, especially, I don't know what exactly you have in mind, but if we think about mental health, physical health, I think that is so important. And just today, my team member joked that somebody had comment that somebody who was presenting in a meeting was a bit sleepy. So somebody said, "Oh, wake up." And then my team member wrote in our chat, "Oh, if that would be Greta, Greta would say, 'Oh, you look sleepy. Go sleep. And when you rest, then come back.'" And then I said, "Why?" At first I didn't understand. And he's like, "Well, because you always send us on sick leaves when we feel bad. You say don't forget to take holiday," which is true. And I think it's no brainer. We're not robots, right? And I think it's very important for a team leader to show the example that resting is crucial. I didn't do that before. I was overworking as hell, and then I realized I'm setting bad example for my team. But now I'm like, if I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation. You also should go on vacation, because then we feel good as human beings. We feel healthy, and I need a healthy team.
Yeah. Now, the external factors of the previous, let's say, 2 years. First, we had COVID.
Yeah.
Now, what was the impact of COVID on your team and on the team happiness? What did you experience?
That was a huge roller coaster. There was, I think, ups and downs, confusion, frustration, denial, irritation, and then adaptation. There was no other way. I think we as human beings were so good at adapting. And the faster we stop denying the change and start looking what opportunities we can get from there, the better it is. One of the best things I think I've did, like one of the funniest things I did, that was back in 2020 when I had a bigger team. I was still leading customer support. We did those 3 weeks of different themes during the day. So we would come to our daily catch-up session dressed up in a different way. From nerds and geeks to, I don't know, like fancy to hip-hop style. So we just did it so that we remember that there is something to celebrate, even though we're locked. We can't go anywhere, but we were creating this atmosphere. So I'm giving this example to say that there's always an opportunity to do something with your team online, offline, if you're locked, if you're free. The question is, do you want it? So it has not been easy, but I think we adapted pretty well, and we got some initiatives and traditions within the team so that we keep connected, we talk to each other, we have spaces to joke around and have other conversations than just numbers, KPIs, do your work, etc.
Yeah. And then we had topic number 2, or you have family close to Ukraine. What was the impact on you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. And what I pointed out when we just joined the call, that we're wearing blue and yellow, the colors of Ukraine. Yeah. So me myself, I'm coming from Lithuania, and all my family and friends, they're safe. But Ukraine is so close, and I have so many colleagues. And when the war happened, I just couldn't concentrate anymore. I was just stepping back and trying to comprehend what is going on so close to my home, not knowing whether next day my home will be bombed, And I think this is the part of also leadership. When we, only look into leaders have to be serious. We need to look in only toxic masculinity and just orders and authority. And I'm afraid, I don't want to compare, but in a lot of organizations, such leadership is promoted. But, when we talk about war, it's very clear what kind of pain it gives. But in our organization, sometimes we don't understand, even though it's also not okay.
Mm-hmm. Now in America, we had or we have the Great Resignation. How is that in Malaysia? Is that visible there?
Oh, what do you mean by that? Like from people moving
Yeah,
to.
so in
Mhm.
America, during COVID, 47 million people changed jobs. So because they got some insights during COVID, and they were thinking like, okay, I don't belong here, so I'm looking for something more. Like the typical insights COVID was bringing, like about work-life balance and about purpose, and so they left. So now my question is specific for Malaysia. Do you see that phenomenon in Malaysia also?
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't have enough data to conclude this because I feel like as Mindvalley is very, global company, I don't know so much of traditional sector and what is happening exactly inside. But what I know for sure that there were much more people who were taking time to think, as you said, right? Reflect
Yeah,
upon is like,
yeah,
okay, so what is my life actually about, right? And I know that more people were considering and looking up for opportunities. So I don't know about exact resignation rates, but for sure, whenever I go, whenever I talk to people, my clients, my team, even in Mindvalley, people would start asking more questions. What is the meaning of that? Am I happy at work? Am I fulfilled? Am I engaged? Is there something more out there?
yeah. Yeah, and there we see like team happiness is like really team happiness, well-being, personal well-being is like really, these are the topics to keep your people in your company and to keep them engaged. Now what we see now is like we have now what we call coasting workers. These are people who are like just so tired of everything that they do the minimum, they take their
Mm.
salary, and they are in a protected area. um, they don't change from employer, they just are there. But
They just
that's
exist.
that's far away from ownership. But I think in America it's now 31% are coasting workers. So if they don't leave, they just, let's say, sit.
Then the question is, the question is, what is the role here of the human being responsibility level?
Yeah,
What's the role of the team leader, direct manager, and what's the role of organization? Because if everyone is coasting and everyone's like, it's okay, doesn't matter, nobody cares, then nobody cares. But I think any of these places, not places, but any of these levels, individual, team, or organization, can break that pattern. Because if they were just doing their job for the sake of doing and now they just want to give up because they see nobody else cares, we can't really blame them as well. Maybe nobody said a good word to them in those 2 or 3 years, etc. So yeah, I think the work you do is so crucial to talk about it and to raise awareness and just to say that it can be better. Because if we are stuck in our not inspiring organization, or what you call it, 1D, I guess, right?
uh,
Uh,
yeah. One D companies, they are like top down, and these are the dictators, and
yeah.
the coasters are the 0D people. So they are just like aiming for status quo, and just like leave everything as it is.
Yeah. So if we talk about these organizations, they exist. And there are so many people maybe even listening to this call where they are like, oh, probably that's a reality, so I'm going to be there. But I think we need to talk about success stories. We need to talk about people feeling happy at their workplace, not in a way to brag about it, but to show what's possible. Because I think it is possible to feel fulfilled. Not maybe every day. There are worse days, there are better days, but overall, and the more we talk about it, the more your work, Jim, is spread out, I think the better we feel.
Yeah, yeah. But also, what is there the responsibility of the employee? Like, yeah, is it like ethic to just coast and be there and take your money? And yeah.
I think it takes two to dance.
Mhm.
So I would say that it goes like in relationships, right? When the worst happens, we can't blame just one side. So I think the same as in relationship between employee and employer, there are always two sides. And if these things are happening, that means there is no dialogue. Because if the employee can't take responsibility and they just coast, then maybe it's your employer's responsibility to challenge that, to call that out and say, hey, maybe it's time to part ways.
Yeah. And last question, because we are now talking since 24 minutes.
Oops.
Let's talk about Claude Silver.
Oh, what do you mean? Okay. I was like, what? She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I found her, I was like, wow, when I grow up, I want to be like her. And because she talks the language of people, she talks about caring, she talks about looking at a human being first as a human being, and I think it's very inspiring. And C-level people should talk about that more. So I really admire her and her work.
Yeah. I saw you melting the moment that you started talking. So I will do you a proposal. If you come to the conference in Antwerp in June, I will bring Claude Silver will be there, and I make you meet her at the conference. So
that would be amazing. Well, as I've told you, I'll be in Europe, so if I can make it happen in terms of the dates, that would be so great. And I think people should join the conference too. It seems like an amazing lineup of speakers, honestly.
Yeah. So here's my invitation. And for now, thank you very much for being with us. And let's talk soon.
Thank you, Jim. Really appreciate you having me here. And anyone, if you have any questions, send me a message.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.